Downsize Administrator with the Carolyn Stark Real Estate Team. Thank you so much for joining us for our Home Edition event. Today we're really excited to have Bobbie Thompson with us from Eagle Point Senior Living, and her program is COVID Courage. She's going to help us to find the hidden blessings and silver lining after the difficult year we all experienced. Now, here's Bobbie.
Hi, I'm Bobbie Thompson from Eagle Point Senior Living in Appleton, Wisconsin. It's my honor to speak with you today about COVID Courage. We've all been going through quite a time over the last year plus, and honestly, for some of us, it's been the hardest time in life, and for some of us, it's been an opportunity to see life from an entirely different perspective. Rolling back in time, over 40 years ago, I started out working with an older lady. In fact, I've had 40 years of serving retirees and their families, and it's been a true honor. But I'll come back to that story in just a little bit. In all the experiences, humor, grace, and wisdom I have gotten from older adults, I've just sort of collected those thoughts and those insights across the years. It's not something I can take any credit for, because honestly, that would be like giving praise to the purse that holds the cash inside. Those gold nuggets have been given to me by the older adults that I've been fortunate to spend time with. So how have we lived through the last year, or through this COVID challenge? When I was a youth, it was a great honor to hear Corrie ten Boom speak. I don't know if you remember Corrie. Let me tell you just a little bit about her story. She was a Dutch Christian daughter of a family that helped Jewish people hide and also escape from the Nazi regime. They were very involved, and in fact, some accounts say that they saved over 800 people through the time that they were stowing away Jewish families and individuals. One of their Dutch neighbors, somebody that knew them, turned them in. And Corrie ten Boom and her family were all sent to the concentration camp themselves. Corrie's sister, in fact, ended up dying in the concentration camp. Her father died in a different one, but Corrie and her sister were at the same one. They faced the same challenges, they faced the same difficulties, and yet Corrie came out on the other side to not only survive, but actually to go on to inspire people around the globe. So let's see some of the things that Corrie ten Boom put into place when she was facing incredible adversity, and how we might be able to take some of those ideas and use them today as it relates to COVID. Corrie ten Boom didn't harden her heart when she went through adversity. In fact, she demonstrated her faith to a higher level. But if you're not a person of faith, no worries. This isn't to talk about that so much as how we can become courageous even when we go through a difficult challenge. History gives us that opportunity. For many people who went through this last year of COVID, they felt like their freedoms were taken away. In some cases, they faced extreme hardship. At the very least, we know that there were hundreds of thousands of people that were impacted, and probably 500,000 or somewhere near that actually died from COVID. Those are some scary times. How have you handled COVID? If I had my way about things, we'd be right here together, and I'd be talking with you, and you'd be sharing your stories, both the tough things and the wonderful things that have come out of this time. But if there's anything that we've learned in COVID, it's that even as wealthy Americans, even living in one of the most affluent countries in the world, we don't always get to have what we want. I know that the biggest threat of COVID is that we would have life go back to the way that it was, and not take those nuggets of gold, those insights, those pieces of wisdom with us to shape our future decisions. So we're going to talk a little bit how to gain strength and resolve, resilience, and just to continue on from the experience that we've gone through, because ultimately there are lots of silver linings. I think about some of the things that happened in the beginning that were so extreme, where people were cut off from their family. And when they could not see their loved one inside the retirement community that they lived at, the families came up with porch visits. And porch visits were fantastic. Then the cold weather came. And suddenly a whole new thing happened, which was the car parade. And people were able to drive by and celebrate birthdays from their car, waving. I know a lot of community members volunteered their time to drop off gifts and things that would make people smile at our senior communities and senior campuses. From there, we just continued to evolve and be creative in spite of the challenge. So this is an example of the kind of thinking that I'm talking about. It could be worse has never been an encouragement to me. Have you heard people say that? Well, it could be worse. Yeah, so what you're saying is right now when it's really bad and I'm not liking any of this, you're telling me it could be worse? That's not really an encouragement. But in that kind of thought, we think about the people that have faced more difficulty than we have. For example, people who do not have a home. And we were fussing about the fact that we couldn't get anything but 2 types of toilet paper. Really? It got to be where I was happy just to find toilet paper, honestly. We have people who have gone through physical adversity, our military. I think about years gone by when we've gone through World War I, World War II, Korea, many other endeavors where we were protecting things that were so much more precious than you could ever put in words. Those people, in many cases, came back with their life completely transformed. Maybe their physical body transformed. Maybe now, just in order to walk, they have some plastic thing that attaches their body or a metal thing, and they've learned to face life with an entirely different perspective. But you know as well as I do, some people have run marathons after that. Some people have gone through such incredible difficulty, and yet they come out on the other side with a mindset like, this won't stop me. I can do this. I've gone through tough times before. I'll go through this again, and I'm going to come out on the other side successful. When we started wearing these things, there were a lot of people complaining about them. And instead, over time, because we couldn't see the smile, people learned how to smile with their eyes. I was in a grocery store recently. I had my mask on, and there was this little baby looking at me and just studying my face so intently. And I realized that this child was trying to figure out what my mode or my attitude was, and they didn't have a smile or the normal expressions to go off of. So I squinted my eyes and smiled extra big. I would have looked silly if I didn't have my mask on. But that baby saw the squints along the side of my eyes and just lit up. Oh, I understand, this is good. And giggled a little bit to the point that it really lit my heart up for the day. So there are things that we can find in the midst of the difficulty. Something kind of humorous. For years, moms have been saying, go wash your hands before you come to this dinner table. Make sure you cover your sneeze. Make sure you cough into your hands or cough into your arm. They've asked us to do things that for years we didn't pay attention to, but now finally, with COVID, some people, maybe even more people, are taking that to heart. Thanks, Mom. Was it just my mom that said that kind of stuff? But nonetheless, Corrie ten Boom, back to her story, she was described, in fact, this is a quote, her deep wisdom came from the cost of journeying through great pain in this life. Yet many of us have gleaned amazing nuggets of truth from her experiences, end of quote. Corrie ten Boom told a story where she said, when a train goes through a tunnel and everything gets dark, you don't throw away your ticket and get off. You sit still. You trust the engineer. Now, some people wouldn't necessarily say they have an engineer of their life, and that's okay. Maybe they feel like they are in that driver's position. But nonetheless, even if we don't trust the engineer, we can trust the train and how it was put together, how strong it is. We can trust the journey that all of us go on. And we can trust the tracks that were somehow laid down ahead of us, those people that have gone before us, that face this exact same dark time, and we're going to get through it too. Have you heard anybody say, when you're in the tunnel and you see a light at the end of the tunnel, it's probably another train? Well, I'm sure that wasn't said by an optimist. In all honesty, when COVID started, all we heard day and night was negative, death and dying. Stay safe, stay away from people, make sure you don't touch, all of those things started to saturate into our brains, like when you sit in the tub for too long and your fingers get all pruny, and our thoughts started to get all shrunk up about what we could or couldn't do. But instead, I like to focus on a favorite quote of my own. It says, "Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent and praiseworthy, think about such things." That quote comes from the Bible. It's Philippians 4:8. Maybe you don't read the Bible. If you like to have COVID courage, if you would like to have that sense of overcoming challenge, then maybe you read other books that talk about people who have gone through difficult times and how they came out on the other side. And if you're not somebody that's Pollyanna, but you really would like to have a little oomph to your COVID courage, then look for some stories where it talks about people's adversity. There are lots of biographies that tell all of the difficulties they went through and how when they came out on the other side, they were actually much stronger. Some suggestions: Corrie ten Boom's life, Anne Frank, veteran stories, of course, like I mentioned, Chariots of Fire if you're a runner, Seabiscuit if you love horses, Invictus if you like sports, Faith Like Potatoes if you're just a farmer and you gotta see your way through this tough time. People who lived through the Great Depression, they faced it all, didn't they? When there was no bank to go to, they had to figure out how to take the scraps of their life and put it together into something. Some of them went hungry. Some of them came up with things they could do for other people. Some turned that into a job, maybe eventually a company, and beyond that, some sense of success. This doesn't happen overnight. It has been difficult. It's important to be able to say what we've lived through and extract from that the nuggets of gold or the silver lining. Maybe you have gone through a really tough time with COVID. Maybe you've even known someone that died or had multiple people that died. I honor that. It's not easy. But something that we can say to ourselves is, this is a tough time right now. And come to think of it, I have gone through tough times before, and I'm still here. I'm still here. So this is not going to stop me, and I'm going to choose to think about whatsoever lovely, whatsoever pure, whatsoever true. In the words of Corrie ten Boom, worry does not empty tomorrow of its sorrow. It empties today of its strength. When you're feeling worried, see what there is, even if it feels ever so small. What is there that you can actually do to make it a little better? More often than not, when we do something for someone else, it lightens the weight on our own mind. So think in terms of that. There was a lady that I started out with, one of my first 3 jobs at 15. She was fiercely independent. She was still in her own home, and she wanted someone to come and help her. Initially, when I showed up, she said, "I wasn't looking for a girl Friday. I need someone that's got some strength. I've got things I have to have done around the house and the yard." But the two of us navigated through that. I could carry her groceries. I could mow her lawn. I was a spindly young kid at that time. I know, it's hard to believe I was spindly ever. But nonetheless, she brought me on as her assistant or her partner in living her life strong. I learned so much from her. In fact, it inspired an entire career. She and other older adults that had gone through so much adversity and were trying to find ways to continue on with strength, she taught me things that I carry with me yet today. Today, with a grateful heart, a master's degree, many places in the world that I've traveled and experienced what life is like for other people, 12 international kids that we have sponsored and had come live in our home, and so many wonderful experiences. I say, thank you for the hardship. Thank you for the back aching work along the way. Thank you for helping me be strong and creative and persistent. I applaud the retirees that I've learned from, the people in my life that are ahead of me in this race called life. And I learn from them as much as possible. So even when I didn't want it this way, even when I couldn't have what I wanted when I wanted it, even when I whined and sometimes put up a fit, even when I had to wear this or got to take it off. The end result is that I'm able to focus on something that goes with me, goes forward, makes me stronger. In fact, maybe just a little bit more courageous. Take a moment and think about the things that you've faced in the last period here. Or perhaps it was when 9/11 happened and you saw everybody rallying around that cry of our nation and you realized, you know what, there's some little way that I can help. I can continue to believe. I can encourage my neighbor. I know of a lady, she's 83, she's still in her own home and she goes out and mows her neighbor's yard because they have lots of children, 2 jobs, and sometimes it takes them a little bit longer. She finishes hers up and she just keeps right on going. Can you imagine how they feel when they come home and they see that? I know even though I would think, I should have gotten my yard, I would be overjoyed with her support and her thoughtfulness. So think on these things. That's the courageous word that we've been given today. Even when your very fiber of your being has been challenged, remember that you're made out of strong enough stuff to carry on, to move forward, to start taking the mask off, to actually get out of your house, to reach out to other people, and maybe start planning some exciting new things that with a sensibility are safe enough and have some fun. I have a lot of people living at Eagle Point Senior Living that have chosen to move there in COVID or right before COVID or now since COVID. They're looking for a way that they can have a vibrant life and still be connected and engaged in what's going on around them. Sure, we had to put precautions in place, but our dining room is fully open, our activities are running, and people are making new friends. They have a certain tenacity that is the focus of this talk today. And I hope you'll join me in finding your own path, your own journey towards COVID courage, because the journey matters. Thank you. Bobbie Thompson from Eagle Point Senior Living.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Stark with the Carolyn Stark Real Estate Team here at Berkshire Hathaway. I want to say thank you to Bobbie Thompson for joining us, and what a great presentation she had. I also want to thank all of you for joining us today. Hope to see you again.